as Max.
Mm-hmm.
So from there, okay, let's set the stage. Back and forth from lap 15 to lap 37. It's nip and tuck. Hamilton catching up to Verstappen, getting to a point where he's almost able to overtake him.
Mm-hmm.
Finally does, right? Overtakes him, and then Verstappen, just like we had talked about before, turn one and then turn two, late break. I need the space. Let me take the escape road. Is able to take the lead at that point because of the abuse of the escape road or of cutting the corner. From there, he is, I guess later on, directed. FIA goes to Red Bull, tells them Max has to give the place back to Hamilton. During that exchange, then they later start to tell Hamilton that he's able to take the place back from Max. At that point, literally within a few seconds, that's when they collided on lap 38, right after turn 27.
Yes.
Did I explain that enough? Is there more color commentary that needs to be added there before? Is there more color that needs to be added there before we add our own color to the situation?
What happened was accurate. What you said was accurate.
It was a nice battle, though.
I tried to keep
Hamilton
it as
catch up.
basic as I could.
It was a nice battle, the catch up that Hamilton did.
It was
catch
great.
Up. It was awesome. Very clean.
I love catch up.
At that point, it was.
Leading up to that lap 37
Kerfuffle.
What? Alfalfa?
Yes, El Alfa.
I was getting extremely frustrated because during that period, there were 2 virtual safety cars that were deployed
In between.
in between.
Yeah.
The first one was because Sonoda crashed into the barriers where he skated on his wing.
Yeah.
The second one was Kimi trying to overtake Sebastian Vettel. I don't know what Kimi was doing. There was
Bad
really
blood.
no space.
Kimi was doing what Kimi does.
Yeah. And obviously, debris everywhere. And Alonso was on the radio saying, we've never
Ridiculous.
raced this way.
Yes.
But
And I like all the explanation that Alonso did to try to get the safety car so they could clean.
no, I listen.
It's truly
The
unsafe.
virtual safety car was needed because obviously anybody gets a puncture.
Well, he wanted a safety car so they could really clean. Because
Well-
the virtual safety car is just to pick up something and move out of the way real
Yeah,
quick.
but I mean, if somebody gets a puncture, hits a wall, it was all, it was reasonable. But as we've seen so many times in many races, when we have a battle that is looming, Hamilton was clearly faster than Verstappen, catching up to him.
Even under the virtual safety car, he was catching up.
Yeah, then you have
Like, that's crazy.
Yeah,
have
he
a
even
virtual
mentioned it, that
safety
the
car.
Delta, was he maintaining it?
you have a virtual safety car or you have a safety car, and then we are robbed of that battle that is to come. And usually this happens at end of races, but thank God it happened in the middle of the races. I was getting extremely frustrated, and I think this is the complaint that I have about this track, that too many incidents seem to happen where you're going to have too many stoppages of the race where we're not going to be able to enjoy a battle if it's going on. And this was the case with this one. They had to stop. Obviously, Hamilton was gaining. Anytime the virtual safety car is deployed, it's advantage Red Bull because they're in the lead at that point, and they get to save their tires. And they're on the mediums, which is the higher degrading tire. So, again, it's an advantage for Red Bull because they can hold out that tire to the end. So that's one of the complaints that I have about the track, and it was extremely frustrating just watching that. Then that incident happens with the FIA, and it was just it was very frustrating, that whole sequence of events.
Which incident?
Where Hamilton runs into the back of
Okay.
Max Verstappen. Because
The brake check.
so-called brake check, because it just showed to you that the FIA or Michael Massey and the FIA seemed like they were not in control of what was going on in this race. It was obviously the stoppages didn't seem to help as far as cleaning up the track. They didn't clean it up well. That's why you need and obviously incidents were happening, so you have to deploy this virtual safety car. So that's robbing us of a good battle at the front. And then the late call on saying that Hamilton should say that Max should give that place back to Hamilton, which was clear that he should have. And just the whole argument of what is going to happen, how they're doing, and the miscommunication was very annoying and very confusing, and we just didn't know what happened. And the fact that they ran into each other, and at that point we didn't know how it affected the cars, it robbed us, of the fans, a great battle for the championship, and it could have been worse. Thank God it didn't go that way.
Yes.
Thank God Hamilton had a bulletproof car this week.
Yep.
Yeah. Thank God it didn't go that way, but that was very frustrating. And if any little thing would have went the other way, we as fans and Formula One as a whole, we would have been upset. Formula One would have looked horrible, which it didn't look great this weekend, but it got saved because of that championship battle. It looked very amateurish, and that's something that has to be fixed, because we've seen inklings of this throughout the season, and it came to a head at this race.
Well, I think it could be fixed if Michael Massey just lays down the law.
Grows a set of balls.
Yeah. Because if you look at videos when Charlie was talking to the drivers, he would not give him budge. Like, that's how it is. Like, Michael Massey, oh, you want to switch places? Do you want to do what? No, my man. Yo, you got to give the place back, or we're gonna investigate it. That's it. Plain and simple. Now you don't give it back. But I think, obviously, he also takes, a guy like Hamilton to save his car. Because remember, he also touched earlier in the race with Ocon. And it didn't show like he had damage because he was still flying. And then losing an end plate to the win. Yeah. He was still flying.
But you've seen many cars that happen to, and they just lose.
Just go back. And he was still setting it, because the fastest lap, he said it.
After that.
After he got the, end plate, whatever, off. So we need, and we
what I was afraid was that end plate was going to fly off and puncture his tire.
But it did fly out. But it didn't puncture his tire. Yeah. But those incidents, especially that happened, the miscommunication cannot, I don't know if how could it be safe? Maybe they should have told Mercedes, hey, we're going to swap the places before Red Bull, because Red Bull, obviously, they were told, they reacted right away. And they reacted so quick that Mercedes was not, according to Mercedes, and obviously because Verstappen got a penalty for it, so he showed that Mercedes was not, not at fault. Mercedes was not up to communication.
The term was that Max was predominantly at fault.
Gotcha.
And I think that that's an important distinction there. So what do you guys think? Who, we use the term, we're
talking about the incident, because there was a few incidents as far as obviously the overtaking at
that's after.
So we're talking about the actual collision, which was a result of cutting the corner and having to give the track back. How did you guys see it? What did you guys think? Who did you guys think now and at the time is at fault?
Predominantly, who's at fault?
No.
The FIA.
That's the same thing I was thinking. I was thinking the same thing.
Just be careful.
I'm sorry. The FIA. But here's the thing. And again, this goes back to what I was saying, that we saw a different Max Verstappen as not the cool, calm, and collected, but the more nervous,
breaking,
jittery. Obviously, he's ordered to give the place back. Hamilton apparently didn't know, and that's a miscommunication. This is why I say that FIA is at fault. However, there was a bit of cat and mouse going on, because obviously when Max was ordered to give the place back, and I think Red Bull already knew that he was going to have to do it, because that move was a little bit, on the edge, is a little bit sketchy. They already knew that they wanted to give it back right before they hit that DRS zone on the start finish straight. So when Hamilton just passes by, you can turn on the DRS, hit it, book it, let him go,
Hit the DRS.
hit the DRS because he's a second behind, and go. Hamilton knew that.
I think Hamilton knew that from the get-go.
Hamilton knew that.
That's why it was. Wells just changed pretty much on the way that the penalty was. What they focus on the for the penalty. So that means they discovered that both teams were aware that they won't have to switch places. But Hamilton did not want to switch places right there because of the same thing. I'm going to lose the spot by the end of the straight. I'm going to lose the spot.
Yeah.
So why am I going to do it now?
And Max
and it ended up happening that way later on.
and ended up happening.
So
that
I see
way, yeah.
it's part of the FIA's problem because I see that changing down the road as well. Where if we're swapping places, you cannot do it in that area because what are we swapping places for then?
And also, when
They're going to get more technical onto what area you're able to swap a spot. And if you do it in that area, you cannot just overtake me after the DRS zone.
Yeah.
You have to get past the DRS zone to overtake me.
yes,
To have a fair advantage of, hey, we're swapping places because you did something. That's why we swap. We're not swapping places for free.
right.
So when you do it in that little space with no reprimandation on it, so what are we swapping for? You're still gonna get ahead, but
They're still gonna get ahead, so
Yeah.
there's no point in even
Exactly.
swapping. So that there has to be rules that are obviously clear on that end.
So that's where the FIA to me that's their fault because that's not clear.
Well, and I also think that their fault because they weren't communicating to both teams at the same time as to what has to happen. But this all goes back to even before because in Brazil the same thing happened and there was no investigation, nothing was needed.
What same thing happened?
Well, when Hamilton tried to overtake Max, and
Let Max push them out.
Max pushed him out.
And there was no
on the
investigation
outside.
until. Oh no, they refused.
They didn't investigate it at all, and now all of a sudden they're investigating things. Right?
They
All of
became
a sudden,
detectives. I don't know where the detectives are.
hands off the championship battle. All of a sudden, we got to get involved because we're going to look bad.
Right. So in general, the FIA just looked
This
like,
year has been failing.
So there's.
But then there's also. I'm sorry. I don't want to cut you off. But
You did though.
But exactly.
Give him a 10-second penalty. Jeez.
I don't want to cut you off, but I
Ruben
will.
Masi. Get him.
But just on the incident itself, when Max had to give up the place, he braked really hard. And we've seen swaps before, not only between Twin Motors and when the FIA said swap the places. They never slowed down that quick.
Then it was that much, and in that area, yes. I
in that
agree with you.
area.
So-
So I mean,
Everything is strategically right now. Everything matters right now.
There were
it's like if you're gonna do something, do it right. Max didn't do it right out.
there were two winners this past weekend and two losers, right? The two losers, the FIA and Max, right? The two winners, Lewis Hamilton and Netflix, right?
They can do 10 seasons off this race.
Yep.
alone.
I want to call to your attention. A couple of races ago, Brazil. Lando Norris, Daniel Ricciardo, and Carlos Sainz. What happened there? Carlos Sainz had to give back the place to I think Lando Norris. Ends up giving it to Ricciardo.
To the Rome McLaren, yeah.
Lets Lando pass and then overtakes him under DRS. Right? Right after. In 2008, the Belgian Grand Prix. Hamilton,
He did it.
he let Kimi Raikkonen pass. Same type of thing. Let Kimi Raikkonen get back. He had taken a place, cut a corner. With the toe, was able to overtake Kimi and end up, I guess, winning the race in person. We'll call it right. But later on, was he received a penalty? It was a 25-second penalty. I'm gonna read.
Oh, he won the race on the track.
On the track, and then later on lost it because he received a 25-second penalty
For doing that.
for doing the same thing. He said, Raikkonen pushed me to the point where I would either have been on the curb and crashed into him or have to go on the escape route. So I went on the escape route. I understood I had to let him pass, so I did. I got in his toe, and he was ducking and diving left and right, and I did the same and managed to get back to the inside of him. But then he hit me at the apex of the corner, but I think I was pretty much gone from there. So Hamilton himself has already
Mastered that trick.
mastered that trick, but also there was precedent set back then by those stewards
Mm-hmm.
that it's a penalty to be able to do that.
When you do this, this is gonna happen.
However, that precedent did not apply this very season when we had Carlos Sainz re-overtake
Earlier in the year, you mean?
or earlier this year, two races ago in Brazil, when Carlos Sainz re-overtook, I think it was Lando Norris in Brazil. So who knows what the actual opportunity here is? Who knows what's right? Who knows what's wrong? Just do whatever you can. Figure it out, guys. Hopefully nobody crashes, etc. Thanks, FIA.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, because the FIA ain't doing crap about it.
So what do we get here? We have, and the reason I wanted to be clear about the predominant, right, is that Red Bull says give back the position strategically. Slows down. He doesn't slow down. He lifts. He's going 180 kilometers per hour, I believe, or down to like 160. Hamilton catches up behind them, does not take the position. Right? So the complete antithesis of what a race driver does when he comes up against a slow driver, right?
Just pass.
Just pass him. I believe if you know, taking
Book it.
right,
Let's go.
taking myself out of it, he was so fast on the straight, the DRS wouldn't have mattered because Max would have had to reaccelerate and then be able to get into the top. Ham would have been so far gone,
Right.
like it wouldn't have
If he
mattered.
didn't start, if he didn't slow
If
down
he
at
didn't
all.
slow down.
If he would have just kept going with his momentum and
But Hamilton knew what Verstappen.
of course.
But I think it was still a tactical error on Hamilton's part. But separate from that, so to me,
I agree with you on that.
I want to go back and I also want to read the. Do I have it? No. The sporting regulation. Yes, I do over here. I don't have it.
Yes, I do. No, I don't. Yes, I do. No, I don't.
Here it is. From Article 27.4 of the sporting regulations, at no time may a car be driven unnecessarily slowly, erratically, or in a manner which could be deemed potentially dangerous to other drivers or any other person. Both of them drove slowly.
But I believe Max
but-
moved more.
But it's not even that
Like
they
if you're letting him
move.
pass, slow down and just go to the side completely. I
They
think Max
both-
swerved.
Listen, they both move slowly, but the reason, what you can argue there is that the reason why Hamilton was slow was because Max was slow in front of him.
No, I think that's the reason that they use as well because
so-
Max got slowed down, so I thought something was wrong. That's why I slowed down.
So, okay, so he during the race, earlier in the race, he said he was having issues with power, right? His battery, they said, oh, you're just topping up your battery, whatever.
Max.
Right. So
Yeah.
if his battery blew, should Lewis just hang out behind him? I don't know what's going on. I'm going to hang out behind him.
He knew. I think he knew.
Listen, the issue I think there was that Max slowed down so much. And it caused a collision.
Yeah.
There was also the fact that
Thank God it wasn't bigger, by the way.
yeah, there was. That's why I was so upset when it happened. Like I got up off my seat and I just slammed the table. I'm like, how is this gonna come down to this?
You slammed the table too?
Oh yeah, I slammed the table.
What about your headphones?
Did they not break?
No, I left that up to Toto.
Gotcha.
I wonder if those headphones still work. I
They
think
got
did,
an
right?
extra set.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, I think that was the case that he slowed down so much. It wasn't even like a reasonable slowdown. It was just like, and that's dangerous, especially when you have cars behind you
On a
on
fast
that
track.
part of the track. So I mean, at the end of the day, that penalty didn't affect the result of the race.
Yeah.
But I think they also have to set. The FIA is in a tough position. They did a horrible job, but in a tough position because they have to set a precedent, which obviously they're horrible at doing, because now this fight is going into the last race.
And they also took away the 5 second that he got first.
Which one?
Remember, he received a 5 second grip on.
No, they gave it to him too.
Who, Hamilton? Max.
Max,
Yeah, Max.
Yeah, they gave that to him too.
They gave them okay.
So here's the scenario.
That's
got
why
a-
he pulled back once he got the 5 second penalty. There was no
pulled
point.
back.
Yeah.
Hamilton passed him. He repassed him.
Yeah.
Max repassed him, and then they gave the 5 second penalty.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what if So we saw Hamilton slow down, lift as well as Max. Max breaks. What if Max never breaks? What if Hamilton just continues going
Or-
slow? What if Hamilton and Max just continue going slow? That plays right into Mercedes' hands, right? Because who's coming behind them? It's Valtteri Bottas.
Yeah.
So
Oh no, at that point, Ocon's behind him.
it doesn't matter.
What's the matter?
It doesn't matter.
But
Either way,
Bottas gonna get
do
up.
I just stop and can you please pass me whenever you have a moment? Let's let everybody catch up to us. Potentially pass
I just
us.
think Hamilton didn't want to give him DRS because, and obviously we know why, because that's exactly what he did later on. So Hamilton just didn't want to give him the DRS, which is reasonable because I mean Hamilton knew because he's done it before. But I'm going back to the FIA here. The FIA, I mean, there was a ton of penalties given. There was a whole bunch of things going. The FIA, the one criticism I have about Michael Massey is that he's not stern enough. He wants to negotiate with the teams because they don't want to get involved. They don't want a steward's decision or an FIA decision to decide the championship battle because it's so close. But at some point, you have to put your foot down and get involved because if they don't, then these incidents, especially going into the last race, tied, something's going to happen and we're going to have what happened with Ayrton Senna and Prost in Suzuka, where they crash into each other and Ayrton Senna wins the championship because Ayrton Senna knew that if Prost doesn't finish that race, he wins on the points.
Wasn't it the same with Schumacher and?
Yeah, but that happened the year before with Prost and Senna, where they went into the first corner at Suzuka. They crashed into each other, but Ayrton Senna was
able to get
able to continue. Ayrton Senna wins the race. Prost goes straight to the FIA stewards, and the I don't know, I forgot his name, but he was French, and obviously Alain Prost is French. Complains because Ayrton Senna went through the runoff area, cut the corner, and they disqualified Ayrton Senna from that race, and Alain Prost won the championship. So these are the type of situations that obviously has happened before in F1, and you don't want that to happen this season, especially when they're tied on points going into the last.
We miss you, Charlie Whiting. So
yes,
I want to go back and I want to say just two more things.
Can we start a petition to ask for Massey's seat?
I'm if he's not fired after this, I don't know. So number one, I thought, regardless of anything, Max should have been disqualified. Why is that? Because of the multiple corner cuttings. Because of at no point it is certifiably unsafe on a straight, the start-finish straight, to hit your brakes at any point like that. Like that's to me that's ridiculous, right?
And he's done it. He's done it so many times, and that's my only criticism with Max.
What has he done so many times?
Dangerous driving, man.
When somebody's gonna overtake him, mainly Lewis Hamilton, because obviously Lewis Hamilton is probably the only other driver that has been as quick as him this season. When Hamilton has him in his sights and he tries to overtake him, especially going into the first corner, which is what happened in Brazil and happened here, he tends to really defend aggressively to the point where he's pushing the driver off. And it's very dangerous. And Lewis Hamilton alluded to this after the race. It's hard to race against somebody who doesn't follow the same rules as you. And the reason why the FIA is there is to make sure that these rules are followed. And they've let him do this throughout the entire season whenever that's happened. And they've either ended up crashing or they haven't given him a penalty, which I think they should have given him a penalty in Brazil for doing the exact same thing he did twice in this race. Sorry.
We'll come back, Jens.
But it's so frustrating because you want to see clean racing, and we all know that
and that's what they promote, by the way.
That is the one criticism that everyone on the grid and everybody who sees this with their own two eyes is that Max Verstappen, when defending, plays a little dirty.
So
yes, he does.
So it would be consistent with Hamilton having received a penalty in Silverstone for I'll say quote unquote pushing out Max, right?
Right.
I want to take one step further back in time. 2000,
To get back in time.
2017.
Close but no cigar.
Was it 17?
Go ahead.
In 2017, I'm pretty sure it was 17.
Uh-huh.
The whole Hamilton and Vettel brake check.
It was 17
Brake
in
check
Baku.
issue.
Right.
Regardless of what happened, the telemetry, etc., for crashing into the rear of a driver, Sebastian Vettel received a 10-second stop and go penalty.
Yes.
I, along with believing that Max should have gotten a DQ, I believe that Hamilton should have also received a penalty for one, driving slow, not just flying past, and then two, for crashing into the rear of, regardless of what else is going on. He should not even put himself in that position. He should have received a penalty for one or both of those things. And then
I
Hitting Max
think we will
Verstappen?
see that.
hitting Max Verstappen and for driving slowly, because sporting regulation says that you cannot drive slowly.
Yeah, but Max was the one that's driving
No, no,
slowly.
but-
Max hit the brakes.
Hamilton lifted off as well in order to not pass. Is that racing to you?
So they're both doing the same
No.
thing.
But it's because we're so long in the year. We're just one race away. These guys
I
are
get
fighting for the
it, I get
championship.
it.
This is the level we're in. But I see that happening. If not in the near future, it will happen eventually. What you just said right now, and that
so then
situation
if
plays
that's
out
the
again.
case, that's the case. And what is true is being said that it wasn't being communicated clearly to Lewis Hamilton by the FIA or the FIA to the teams that he should overtake him. Okay, yeah, because I know you're ready for this. Go ahead. So then, why the FIA probably didn't give him a penalty because they knew they effed up by not communicating that to both teams.
So in a race, when a car is going slow, you just don't pass them?
I'm telling you, that's it. I was. It's
That
because
makes sense.
if you were earlier in the year, I see something what you're saying happening.
Right, exactly. But now they're so focused on getting that history awaits
Yes.
hashtag, making the final race the whatever, that they just don't. They want to let them race. They got extremely lucky, like Ruben said earlier, that Hamilton's car wasn't more messed up.
And I don't think that
Well,
the
they didn't take
penalty,
each other out.
But
Yeah.
I don't. But I also don't think that the penalty that Vettel got in 2017 is the same as this, because what Vettel did was literally drive up next to Hamilton and drove into him. That was why he got the stop and go penalty. So I wouldn't. If they want to give him a penalty,
Okay.
it wouldn't be equivalent to that.
Okay, so that was under a safety car. Would it be the same then to say that Hamilton should have just driven past him?
He should have, but he didn't.
No, but that's pretty much
but-
part
and
of
then
part of the
but the reason
investigation.
why
Check
is-
that.
That's what caused the accident.
But the reason why was because it wasn't communicated. They didn't know what the hell was going on, bro.
On a racetrack, if a car has a failure of like their engine or whatever, you don't pass them?
No, he should have passed. I think that's what he tried to do. It was too late.
No.
Not at all. He slowed down. He lifted.
slowed down.
He slowed down to 180, 160 kilometers per hour. And then the reason Max hit the brake is he wanted to slow down more to let him
And
pass.
that's when Max downshifted as well.
So
super
hold on.
Quick.
I don't get what you're saying. Both of them should get a penalty.
yes.
Yes.
Okay.
yes.
Fine. I disagree with
Look
you.
at this guy
Fine.
taking sides, man. Jeez.
I'm damn sure. I already said I was taking sides.
I'm calling the balls and strikes.
I already said I'm taking sides, man. I haven't because and I said that earlier.
So-
I'm taking sides because I don't like the way Max has been racing this season. That's why I'm taking sides. Purely opinion.
Imagine an
what I
umpire
do.
is like, you know what? I don't like this batter, so the strike zone is gonna be enormous.
And it's happened before.
Can't do that. Yo, I'm running out of battery, so we gotta keep moving. I'm down to 16%. So final results: Hamilton and Max, first and second. 10-second penalty assessed to Max after all was said and done, predominantly at fault, which I agree with.
Nice drag race by
History
Valtteri
awaits.
Bottas.
Yeah. Yeah.
Second time he does that.
Now let's just wrap it up. It's tied up going into the last race of the season.
Advantage Red Bull.